Hey guys, it's Yoki here and welcome to the channel for a very nice comparison video in terms of the physics, taking a look to see what has been updated in the latest version 1.9. And what we're going to do is do a couple of laps in the current version of the game, or should I say the previous version of the game, which I think was version 1.8.21 or 22, something like that. Do a couple of laps in those. Talk about those laps a little bit, and then we're going to do a couple of laps in the new version 1.9 and talk about the new physics updates and kind of give a little bit of a demonstration as to what has changed. If you want all the juicy details as to what has exactly changed, down in the description below is a very nice, lovely document that the Kunos developers have done for us, which basically talk about all the physics updates and what you need to know going forward for version 1.9, what you need to know in terms of tyre pressures, tyre temperatures, camber, toe settings, and what they do in terms of the alignment and maximizing the contact patch. Also the updates to the dampers and also the suspension. There's an awful lot of detail in there, and to accompany that as well, over the course of the previous weekend just gone, Aris, the physics developer for Kunos Simulation, has also done a fantastic, well, he's done two fantastic live streams, and both of which go into fantastic in-depth detail as to what has been updated in version 1.9. So definitely worth taking a look at those, and also they'll both be linked down in the description. But anyway, let's go ahead, let's jump onto the track, jump in the car, and let's get on with this comparison video. Okay, so here we are, version 1.8.21, I believe it is. What we're going to do for this very first run is grab the default aggressive preset setup. I'm going to go through various different pages, show you that it is still all default. Nothing is being changed here. There is only one change that I'm going to make, which is the front and rear brake pads. We're going to drop those down to 1 to get better braking. And now we're going to go ahead and set a lap. See what we can do in terms of lap time. So on the approach down towards turn 1 here. Bit squirrely there coming through that first turn. Oh my god. Very heavy understeer, under braking. Now coming through the curbs in the chicane here. Now coming into the S section. Oh my god, the understeer. Definitely a lot of understeer, under braking. You can see, as soon as I get hard on the brakes, the car just straightens up. And I know you mostly want to do your braking in a straight line anyway to get the maximum braking or optimal braking performance. Still doesn't help when you try to trail brake and turn into the corner. So 1:44.885 is the lap time that we set there with the default aggressive setup. Right, what I'm now going to do is go and load a custom setup. I'm going to load this one right here that I ran for a recent AOR league race. Now, the tyre pressures may be slightly off, because obviously they are set for different conditions, but you can see maximum negative toe on front and rear, maximum negative camber, electronics, take away TC2, as that was interfering with the car a little bit. Maybe yes there. The only thing I'm going to change there is the tyre set, put that on 1, it doesn't matter anyway, it doesn't do anything. Mechanical grip, brake bias is much further rearwards, 54.4, whereas I think it was up in around 62 as the default softest suspension that we can possibly go for. Low on the bump stop ranges, as we can see there, probably a little bit higher than the default. I think the default was 20, but the front is, I think, is lower down at 2. Really aggressive with the dampers, especially the fast bump and fast rebound on the rear, maxing that out. And then finally here on the aero page, we've got the ride height down the front as low as we can possibly get. Maximum rear wing, going for maximum downforce setup, trying to get as much of it, as much grip as we possibly can around this circuit. But that's the setup that we're going to run. And we're going to go ahead and set a lap time now with this setup. Didn't need to engage the pit limiter there. But you can immediately see the car is wanting to rotate through the corners a fair bit more. A little bit of oversteer there on the exit as we're getting hard on the throttle. But we should see a fairly substantial improvement in terms of lap time over the default aggressive setup. So braking feels much better straight from the off. Turn 1 feels better, although I wasn't entirely optimal through it. Turn 2, the car is wanting to turn in and tuck into the corner a lot more when coming off the brakes and starting to trail brake into the corner. You can already see we're 0.2 of a second up at the end of the first sector. Too much curb there on the inside. That's going to hurt us, as you can see. Chucking away lap time. But generally the car is wanting to turn and rotate a lot more. Now coming through the chicane, the car should be a lot more complicit over the curbs, and indeed it is. And this is where we should really start to gain ground if I can get on top of the car and settle it down, and there it is. Running that, all that downforce has just gone and gained us about 0.4 of a second there through the middle of sector 2. Could have been a bit more aggressive there in that 90 right. And coming through the last couple of corners now. Reasonable drive off, and we kind of hold that 0.4 of a second. So a 44.5, 1 minute 44.5. Okay, here we are in version 1.9 then. Same track, same car, exactly the same conditions. What we're going to go ahead and do is load up the setup that we just did our run on in the previous patch version. As you can see, everything here is completely identical to what we had just done. Mechanical grip page there, so you can see the soft springs and the low bump stops. There's the aggressive dampers, and then there's the quite aggressive aero setup. Actually, what I might do very, very quickly is 25.0, 25.6, 25.0, 25.5. Just to make this a little bit fairer, let's go ahead and put in the tyre pressures. Of the default aggressive setup. Just because obviously the tyre pressures that I had previously were specifically for a certain race and its own conditions.
Green light, show them what you got.
And then we'll go ahead and set a lap with all the exploits and everything that we had there and talk about the new physics. And see how the setup that I had previously been running actually goes with the new physics. Now obviously a lot of these are exploits that I've got on the setup shouldn't actually work anymore. And as you can see, hopefully, certainly by the last corner, and what felt like initially there in turn 1 is the car is rotating quite a bit more than it had previously. And yeah, there's quite a bit more rotation in the car. I can feel that already. There's a bit more unwanted oversteer. That is not ideal. That's not what I wanted. Oh. But still, we'll press on. It doesn't really matter that this lap is invalid. Jesus, right, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to bail out of this lap. But definitely there is a lot more rotation in the car. Unwanted rotation, there's too much, as you can see, in various corners. But let's go again, let's try and get a decent lap. Try and be a bit more tentative with the car this time, coming off the final corner. Had to lift a little bit there as It's being a little bit too tentative and quite heavily washing out wide. Right, here we go, turn 1 again. Yep. Car is definitely moving around an awful lot. Tyre pressures on the left side might actually be a little bit too low. Oh my god. Big moment there coming into turn 3. Just the transition and weight really unsettled the car, so you could probably do with an increase in tyre pressure just to try and give some more support to the tyre, but you can really see that the car is really struggling with that old custom setup with the exploits that a lot of drivers used to run, including myself, because it was free lap time. It just made the car so much quicker and easier to drive. There wasn't the chronic understeer, but now there is chronic oversteer. So we're obviously going to have to adjust our setups again and address the exploits that we were previously running and take a bit more of a realistic approach in terms of our setup, where we put various parameters. Come on. Here we go, across the line. So 144.8. So we were about 0.3 of a second slower. Now I will admit that the previous run that I did in version 1.8.21 isn't my fastest lap time, but that doesn't really matter. Anyway, for this fourth and final lap comparison, we're just going to jump in with the aggressive preset setup. So you can see toe and camber values are at much less aggressive values, shall we say, although we're still running max rear camber and nearly a single click out from the max camber on the front. Electronics, we've now got TC2 up at 3 rather than 0, as it was quite interfering on the old set I found. Front brakes, we're going to just bot those down to 1 on both the front and rear, just to match. We shall also drop the brake bias as well, down from... Actually, no, stop it, screw it. Let's go back. Let's have a fully, apart from the brake pads, let's have a fully default aggressive preset setup. Keep it completely fair. And just see what sort of lap time we can get from this. Dampers looking a lot more normal, a lot less aggressive. And then the aero also looking a lot less aggressive than previously. I do wonder if in some corners we may see that the previous custom setup may be a little bit quicker, as obviously there's more downforce, there's more grip, therefore I can take more speed and I'd be a little bit quicker at the apex. But it'll be interesting to see, as hopefully with a more standard setup that is less aggressive and isn't using the exploits anymore to get that additional rotation that the exploits were trying to get, and that better handling, hopefully the car is going to be a little bit more stable and a little bit more compliant. Good start coming off the final corner. Either way, let's go. Let's see what we can do in terms of our lap times here. Oh, braking does not feel as good as it did in the custom set. So we were deep there in turn 1, but we've gained time on the exit. Let's see what we can do in turn 2. Definitely a good response from the car. Getting nice and tight to the apex. Flat there through turn 3, and now we are just nudging into the green. Nice and aggressive there with that inside curb. And the car certainly feels a fair bit more compliant and complicit. This feels a lot more stable. Oh, that's quite a big bouncing there coming off the exit of the chicane. So yeah, car's certainly feeling a lot more stable through this section, but you can see we are losing time, which could be due to those downforce settings that I had previously mentioned. Oh, quite a bit more rotation there. And coming out the final corner. So we're down on our lap time by about 0.3 of a second or so. Let's see if we can actually get closer to that. Much better into turn one. Much better response from the car as well. And we're now a 10th up. Here the brakes are overheating a little bit. Now we're gaining time. Three tenths up now. Car really bouncing as it catches the curb there on the inside on the exit. This is where we lost a lot of the time last time. Trying not to lose so much this time. Held it in and around 3 tenths. Oh, a little bit deep there. Reasonable drive off the exit though. Try and get a good final corner. So there we go, a 44.670. Obviously 1 minute 44 that is. So yeah, it certainly seems the car is fractionally slower than it was previously, but going back to the aggressive setup, where it doesn't have any of the previous exploits, certainly feels a lot better than running the old custom setup. So that's going to be something that a lot of drivers are going to need to be wary of and adjust going forward, is take those old setup exploits out of their setup. Obviously, there's still some refinement to do here in terms of the car setup. Like, I could go maximum rear wing, increase the rear ride height and lower the front ride height, get a little bit more rake and kind of go for that high downforce setup once again. Certainly the car needs to be refined for taking that chicane, as we're getting an awful lot of bouncing coming off the exit of the chicane, but generally the car feels a lot better in taking that curb. It's a lot less awkward on the actual impact and the absorption of that curb, which is good. And I've also done some testing and seen Aris' stream where he was absolutely hammering the curbs in the Ferrari 488, and it was a night and day difference compared to what it was prior to the version 1.9. So generally the overall physics update is, I think, really, really promising. The car feels a lot more dynamic and a lot more playful. You can push the car and kind of hang it there on the edge a little bit. It does feel like there's a little bit more communication through the force feedback as well, in terms of what the car's doing and where it's moving around. Like there, getting on the throttle, just very, very quick, rapid adjustments, and it brings the car back in line. The car certainly does feel a lot more dynamic and a lot less, I guess, static at the limit. It feels like you can do a lot more with the car to try and help save it. And it feels like that's being communicated better as well. Which is really, really good. It's just overall a really, really good physics update here, so it's definitely worth considering if you didn't like Assetto Corsa Competizione previously. Definitely worth reconsider and give it another go and see if these new physics updates are more to your liking. The way I kind of saved that car there, just a very quick flick of opposite lock, and it brought the car back in line. Whereas that probably would have been a little bit more awkward previously. It just feels a lot more natural. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the BOP updates have done in terms of the competitiveness of the cars. There was a couple of cars that were previously overpowered and needed bringing back in line, and hopefully some cars have been brought forward a little bit and made a little bit more competitive. And it'll be interesting to see how the new cars stack up to the older cars that we previously had as well. Overall, a really, really good update. It's brought a whole lot of new life into the game, and I'm really, really looking forward to doing some more league racing with this and taking a more realistic approach with the car setups rather than going for physics exploits and setup exploits all the time. Fantastic job, Kunos. Give yourselves a well-deserved pat on the back. Let's finish this lap. There we go, a little bit less aggressive with the curb. Car felt a little bit more stable coming off the exit. Big slide there. The slides do really cost you time, like they do previously. It's not like it's advantageous to slide anymore, and that's an invalid lap, but never mind. We shall end the video there. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I'll get back to you. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and please also consider subscribing to the channel. Hopefully I shall see you in the next video, but until then, thanks for watching, have fun, stay safe, and take care.